That's Lizzo with a special on BBC Radio Suffolk. Now, my next guest is an author from Woodbridge, and Robin Pryor's latest book is entitled Love and Outrage. When I spoke to him last week, I asked him to tell me more.
Robin, this novel, it's a historical novel and it's based on real people and events. But very early on in the 1900s, it's a story of love that fights to survive during some dangerous times in violent places. Tell me, first of all, how did you get the idea for the story?
Well, I've got a friend I collaborated with who's just an ardent historian. He's an expert on all areas of history, especially London. He comes from the East End of London himself. I've known him for some time, and we were just talking through events, and he talked me through an event that took place called the Tottenham Outrage. I'd never heard of it. And when he explained to me what actually took place, I thought, well, how come I've never heard of it? And out of that came the conversation of what else took place around that time, and and really this information needs to be out there a little bit more prominently. And so we put the story together. He's the information behind the historian, and we created a love story that tied it all together.
So tell me about the Tottenham Outrage then. How does that tie in with your book, with the story that you've created?
Well, the background of these three major crimes, if I explain just the sequence of the Tottenham Outrage, because it's so extreme, you would think, well, everybody would know this from their history books.
It's not something I've come across either, to be honest.
Well, I mean, when Tom first talked me through it, I thought he was pulling my leg. I thought this can't be true, because surely everybody would know about this. But there were, at that time, so we're talking 1909, there were quite a few refugees coming in from East Europe fleeing religious persecution. And a lot of them set up home in East London. Some of them turned to crime. Most of them turned to become good citizens and played a major part in the area, and some turned to being criminals. Two of these criminal Latvians committed a wages snatch opposite Tottenham police station, and they killed the cashier in the process. They took flight. A lot of the residents ran after them, and they killed a young lad as they fled. They got onto Hackney Marshes, and by this time a lot of the locals were behind them, and with sticks and stuff. The police hadn't yet given pursuit because nobody in the police station had the key to where the guns were kept. So once they got the guns, they also gave pursuit. On the Hackney Marshes, there were some people who were shooting ducks and playing football. Well, all of these people joined the event. They got onto Hackney High Street and got into, trams.
Yeah.
And so the villains got into the first tram, the police and people got into the second tram, and they were shooting out the windows. And then they got off the trams and stole a cart, and then took refuge in a cottage on Hackney Marshes, where they met their end. And that's in a nutshell the Tottenham Outrage. But I mean, you'd have thought a story like that would be known all over the place.
Well, you would really, but how much of that story inspired you, and how much of that appears in the book? Because your book is, as you say, it's a love story. It concerns a woman who lives with her criminal brother in the East End of Edwardian London, and her brother is very dominant, isn't he? And so she has to escape that as well as other things that are happening in her life.
Yes. Well, Libby is a fictitious character. Her brother is real. and he's George Garstein. George is leader of a criminal gang.
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Neffing, the hero of our story, he's an undercover policeman, and he's charged with the task of infiltrating these criminal mobs to try and get some more information on them to deal with them, because it was getting out of hand.
Yeah.
So the love story is that Eddie and Libby come into contact on two sides of the track, as it were, because Libby doesn't know who Eddie's real identity. And then they fall in love, and in order for the love to carry on, Eddie has to say, I need to tell you who I am, I'm afraid.
Exactly. Oh, so, Robin, this sounds like the sort of thing that would be turned into a TV drama as well. Are you hoping that it might be picked up, or has it been already?
Well, it's early days. If you take the other two crimes, the Sydney Street Siege, which is better known, but it's very visual. There's a lot of activity. Winston Churchill's involved. Scots Guards from the Tower of London. People are firing out of windows and stuff like that. And the Houndsditch murders, which is the third one, is again, policemen being shot and people being chased through streets. So it's a very visual story, and with a strong love interest. And also, although it's set 1909, 1910, 11, when you look at the people, it's a lot of very contemporary relevance to how people are now. The pressure on people coming into the country.
I was just going to say that the immigration situation and the fact that they still face persecution all these years on, it does bring the story right up to date, even though that the setting, as you say, is the early 1900s. How long did it take you to write the story, Robin?
Oh, well, it's been over a few years, but that's not sitting down writing every day.
And then how can our listeners get hold of a copy of your book, Love and Outrage?
Well, it's available all usual channels. It's available from Austin Macaulay, the publishers.
Love and Outrage, and it's Robin Pryor is the author. So if people put that into their favourite search engine, they'll be able to find it. Hopefully get their own copy of your new paperback. The final question for you, Robin, is there another book in the offing, or are you exhausted now with this one and you're just happy to do these interviews and do some publicity for this particular novel?
Well, I'm going to do as much publicity as I can. I am doing another book now, and I've gone in a different direction. I'm writing a humorous story, which is, again, a love story, but it's about a couple who identify the meaning of life and how to save the planet.
All right, Robin. Well, we look forward to hearing about that too. Thank you so much.
Okay, a pleasure.
Tell us all about it for BBC Radio Suffolk.
It's a pleasure.